Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, Untrapping Product Teams. In today's episode, I want to talk to you about something that bugs me. And this is a lie. What companies say and do go in different direction. They claim to do Scrum and to be Agile. But what happens? It is not like that. And in this video, I want to share with you what is really happening in the industry and what you can do different. I don't want to make you feel powerless, but I want to help you see the opportunities. And for companies, I claim, why don't you stop lying and accept you suck at Agile and find ways of making it happen? Let's start with this. Scrum is a framework and it is incomplete by design. You cannot deliver products relying solely on Scrum. So don't think that by implementing a framework as a process, which is what most companies do, they will succeed. For example, it doesn't mean anything if you have sprint planning in place, if you do refinements, if you have retrospective, and if you have people filling up the roles, product owners, Scrum Master, developers. That doesn't put you in the right direction. You need to have the right mindset. But then, by perceiving Scrum as a process, you treat that as the end itself, and the Scrum is just a means to an end, nothing more than that. If you want to define Scrum with one sentence, I'd like to quote Martin Dahlman, using what we know to discover what we don't know. So this is what Scrum is all about, but not what companies do. Let's start looking at the roles. You take the product owner. What is the mission of a product owner? To deliver value, to maximize the value resulting from developers, from the Scrum team. But what happens in reality? The product owner becomes the stakeholder's pleaser or stakeholder's puppet. Because what the product owner will do is following the wish of stakeholders and doing whatever they want, but nothing what they need. And let's look into the industry, because you can say, hey David, come on, you are highly opinionated here. Okay, let's have a look at the industry. If you look at this position here, I don't know if I cry or if I laugh, but it's really disappointing. Look at the first sentence here. Product owners work closely with product managers. Huh? Working closer with product managers? Because that is an anti-pattern. In this case, it means a product owner isn't responsible from end to end. Probably, he's responsible for implementation, execution. And the proof of that, just go to this sentence here. Managing the backlog of user stories. Huh? Backlogs are formed only of user stories? What is that? The backlog should have everything that is needed to deliver value for the product. And when you look at the industry, what is happening is product owners are seen as the backlog owners instead of empowering teams to deliver value, find what makes sense to create. But that's not what really happens. It descends to something else other than product owner. But that's not the only role that you find problems. Let's look now at the Scrum Master. What is a Scrum Master supposed to do? To help the organization benefit from Scrum, to coach them, to use Scrum, to live the principles and the values from developers, product owners, and stakeholders. But what happens? Either the Scrum Master will become the team assistant or a babysitter. The Scrum Master will be the one responsible for scheduling the Scrum events, the one responsible for organizing meetings. And if you look at this, it goes even in something awkward. Again, let's take this position, and what is it saying about Scrum Master? Responsible for organized release planning? What the heck is that? Seriously? Scrum Master is responsible for the output, for organizing this? There are many anti-patterns in the industry, and this ensures the person filling this role won't be able to be a real Scrum Master. And now if you go to developers, then it gets really funny, because developers in general in Scrum is anyone who contributes to deliver value, the ones who are creating the product. And they should be empowered to make decisions. But what happens? Developers become a kind of feature factor workers. So the product owner will write the requirements. Remember the position I showed there? There's also something about documenting. So the product owner documents, and then developers will implement. That's it, a feature factor. It's like, you are working on a tailor-reason style. You do one thing and you ensure you do it correctly. So it's a silo effect. And I ask you, is this a Scrum team? I don't think it is. I call this as a feature factory team. So it's kind of, the industry is transforming Scrum into anything but a Scrum. Now, let's just try to have a look at what happens in the events and the framework itself. So you have a product backlog. And then I ask you, do you really have a product backlog? Remember, a position I took there, it was saying the user stories, you need to have that. User stories tend to a solution, so we need to implement something for someone. So I'm not sure if it is about this. What happened is the backlog descends you the stakeholders wish list. And then what you do is you just prioritize which wish will come first. Instead of thinking which is the value we want to deliver, which is the goal we want to achieve, and what is related to the goal, we think which is the stakeholder we have to please. That's not Scrum, my friend. And then we go to the next one here. When you are planning, sprint planning, does it really happen in sprint planning? Where you start with the goal you want to achieve and you craft that with the team, and then you see what you can do to achieve the goal. In reality, it starts with the features you want to deliver, and from the features you come up with a goal. Why that? Because it's not the sprint planning, it's a feature planning. So you plan the features you want to deliver. It's different. And now what else do we have in Scrum? We have the daily stand-up. Is it the daily stand-up? The daily stand-up aims to help the team organize the work for the day and ensure they get a step closer to deliver on the sprint goal, to reach what they committed to. But what does it really happen? The daily starts like this. At 9:15, the team joins the call. And then one developer will say,
Yesterday I worked on the search engine.
And the other will say,
I will continue working on the stuff that I committed to. I didn't have enough time yesterday, but I'm working on this.
And then the product owner will just interrupt and say,
you know what? It popped up something here that is very important, and I want you, Bjorn, to take this and start doing it right now. And Harold, don't even dare to say what you're going to work on, because I will tell you what to work on. Huh?
So do you think that this is how dailies should run? Is it a follow-up, a command and control? Well, this is what happens with many teams. Not a way of organizing the work for the day to get closer to the sprint goal, but a way of following up and command and control. These are not self-organizing teams. But then we have more events. Once you finish the sprint, you invite the stakeholders to see what you have achieved. And this is sprint review. The sprint review is supposed to be a working session with the stakeholders. But what really happens is a mechanical review. In most cases, happens like this. Someone is gonna open Jira, because this is the universal Agile tool. I don't think that using Jira is bad, but I think that when the Jira defines how you work, then this is bad. But let's go back here to the sprint review. Someone opens Jira and say,
what we did last sprint was this. We committed to 372 stories and we delivered 353. We solved also 72 bugs and we had 2 maintenance tickets. And we are going to present you.
And then the stakeholders are just... they're just sleeping because they are not paying attention at all. It's, I would say, the most boring meeting ever. And it becomes mechanical. Developers present from their machine what they achieved and so on. And you know what? Nobody cares about that. As most stakeholders don't see the value of that. They see the output, but they don't see how that changed their lives. And this becomes a mechanical sprint review. And after that, what do? They go to the sprint retrospective. And this is a moment where the team stop to look at what they did during the last sprint and to find opportunities to become a little bit better version of themselves. So inspect and adapt. But what really happens? It becomes another follow-up. So it's the bi-weekly follow-up. And the team comes there and answers mechanical questions.
What did it work last sprint? What didn't work? What can we do better next sprint? What are the risks?
And then, they define actions, which also nobody cares, because once they go to the feature planning, what will happen? They will commit to a lot of features and will forget about giving time to themselves to become a better team. And yet, companies call this kind of stuff Scrum. It puzzles me, because Scrum is about empowering team, making the team self-organizing, and in this case, it's a mechanical thing. It's kind of, transforming waterfall into Scrum, and this is not Scrum. This is a kind of water Scrumfall, or whatever it is, and companies are just missing the point. Scrum is about empowerment. It's not about command and control. It is not a process to ensure more output. It's a framework to help you deliver more value. And here, what I want to tell you who work with Scrum, don't let the anti-patterns drive how you work. You should take the driver's seat instead of being the victim of the circumstance. You define what happens. If companies are telling you how to work, you don't accept that. You show them how to build a product. It's not about bowing to the status quo. If you are a specialist, you know how to deliver value. And you should trust your gut and do what is right instead of doing what people are telling you to do. If you want to advance with Scrum, you better be bold. Otherwise, you fall into boredom and you fall into this scenario, which is dreadful. I've been there many times and I don't want to be there again, because it's not motivating to wake up and go to work. Because if the only thing you're doing is following a process and delivering features for the sake of delivering it, what's the point? So it's up to you to change the scenario. And let's just stop lying. Almost nobody does Scrum. You can do it if you are brave to embrace the unknown and to empower teams. Don't forget hitting the like button if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe now if you want to know how to entrap product teams. Thanks for watching.